of the Democratic Party in the state of Tennessee, Mr. BTuke, who has given us some additional information from our first segment dealing with the party specifically in the state of Tennessee. And of course, Mr. Tuke, let us see if we might continue that conversation and allow you to not only talk about the Democratic Party in the state of Tennessee, but how that party fits within the national framework of the Democratic Party, period. And let's do that now.
Thank you, Dr. Haney. And just continuing on, we were talking about some of the issues that are really important in the Tennessee Democratic Party, and they really have a national fit as well. Among, I mentioned education and training and jobs, healthcare is critically important, and especially it's important in Tennessee because Tennessee, as everybody knows, had the leading Medicaid replacement program in the nation, TennCare. But unfortunately, it had gotten under a previous administration, it had gotten out of control and financially, and so this governor has reined it back in, and it's still, I think, ranked as 7th most generous and 7th most comprehensive program in the nation. But healthcare is a national problem. We have way too many Americans, 43 to 48, depends on which source you look at, million Americans without any health insurance of any kind. We have 600,000 people in Tennessee who don't have health insurance. It's a national problem, and it affects the state. One of the things we're really concerned about is making sure that we have an effective healthcare delivery system and a way of paying for it. And that's a platform of the National Democratic Party as well as the state party. We have, moving on into kind of how things look in a national scene, we of course have primaries going on right now in both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party for the United States Senate. It's interesting to see the contrast in how those primaries are going. In the Democratic Party, we have two wonderful candidates. One, Senator Rosalind Carita, state senator. She's a registered nurse. Interestingly, she's conducting a tough, hard campaign. Most people would say clearly as an underdog, but a great campaign, a positive campaign. Harold Ford Jr., Congressman Harold Ford Jr., is running in that same primary. He is conducting a vigorous and positive campaign, taking issues out there to the people, issues that people care about. On the other hand, excuse me, the other party has three candidates who I have observed attack each other. And I understand that. I understand politics. But the trouble with that is that it leaves the people kind of without a real chance to make their own minds up, attacking one another as they've been doing almost at a character level, trying to brand people as too liberal or too conservative is not helpful. I think it's much more helpful to have a campaign such as our candidates are waging, demonstrating to the people the issues that are most important to Democrats and we think will be most attractive to Tennesseans. That is consistent with what's going on nationally. Nationally, President Bush's approval ratings are at an all-time low. They're down around 38%. The country's in a Democratic mood. The Republicans control Congress. The deficit is a mess. The war in Iraq does not seem to be going well. We have a problem with eavesdropping. The government essentially monitoring what private citizens say on the telephone in the name of security, but perhaps going too far, but an ineffective congressional oversight. We think that this will cause the people of America to say, you know what, we need to have a Congress that will take a look at these things from a critical eye. And we think that that'll cause Americans, in particular Tennesseans, to elect Democrats to the Congress and to the Senate. And we look forward to taking over at least one of the two houses of Congress in 2006 and perhaps both. And of course, we'd love to see both. It's important for government to be shared. I think it would be just as problematic perhaps for Democrats to control all three branches of government as it is for Republicans to control all three branches of government. Shared government is best. Government from the middle is best. We don't want government from either fringe. And I think the Republicans are presently too beholden to the right wing of their party. Fundamentalists, people who characterize themselves as Christian. It's not my kind of Christianity, but they characterize themselves that way. And I think they bring too much of a hard edge and too much of a right-wing approach. And I think most Americans are uncomfortable with that. Most Americans want to see government from the middle. I think we offer that and bring that. I know our two candidates for the U.S. Senate bring that. I hasten to add that we have 5 of the 9 congressmen from Tennessee, congresspersons from Tennessee, are Democrats. And ours are blue dog Democrats. They're good, hardworking, good, solid Democrats, but they call themselves blue dogs because they have a focus on economic issues, to be sure that we are a fiscally sound country. Here in Nashville, we're blessed to have Jim Cooper as our congressman, and he's one of the finest congressmen in the Congress. And he's joined by his colleagues, Congressman Ford, Congressman Lincoln Davis, Congressman John Tanner. It's just wonderful to have this caliber of congressmen. And of course, the dean of the delegation is Congressman Bart Gordon in our neighboring county, Rutherford County, and around that region. These are good, solid Democrats who are interested in governing with fiscal sensibility. The deficit is going to be a huge issue nationally. The absence of a sound energy plan is going to be a huge issue nationally, as it is in Tennessee. It's a terrible thing to waste the energy resources we have, which is happening right now because we have an ineffective system of conserving resources. It is no answer to drill for more oil. The answer is to develop alternative energy resources.
You know, in looking at over the last 2 or 3 minutes, let's think in terms of the Democrats in the presidential election. I think that most people would admit that Mr. Bush has been there for 2 terms, and that well, he's not running again, and so it seems that there seems to be an open field. Now, when you talk to your counterparts around the nation, what seems to be the sentiment in terms of what the party ought to do in terms of trying to capture this election this time?
You know, it's really interesting. People say that 6 months is a political lifetime, so we've got a number of political lifetimes before 2008. There are a number of people out there, of course, who have let it be known one way or the other that they'd be interested in the candidacy. As a party, as a national party, what we Democrats are looking for is a candidate who will speak to the middle and who will be attractive in the heartland. We know that from bitter experience that we can't win by focusing only on the coasts and only on states that are so-called blue states. Instead, Democrats have to do as we've traditionally done, and that is to appeal to people all across the country, and especially in the heartland. And since we in Tennessee are especially in the heartland, Tennessee is uniquely positioned. We border more states than any other state in the Union. We're right in the middle of the eastern part of the United States. We're a border state, as they say. We're a southern state, but we're a Midwestern state as well. And so Tennessee is a really critical state. It's a harbinger state. So I look for a candidate that will be attractive across the board nationally. And there are a number of people who are out there campaigning right now. I'd hate to mention anyone in particular because it might suggest that I or our party favor that person. And presently, I'll be honest with you, I don't favor everyone. I'm listening, I'm watching, I want to see who emerges, I want to see the kinds of issues that these candidates think are important. I want to see how they speak to the American people.
Very good. And of course, Mr. Tuke, let us well, I think this is about the last segment here. And of course, we're getting near the end of the segment, but let me say before, over the last 30 seconds that we have, that we appreciate the kind of information, because that's essentially what we wanted to do, to get some sentiment in reference to the Democratic Party, and in spite of the fact that we introduced you as being, gave you an opportunity to be partisan, we understand exactly what you said in reference to where the party stands, and I don't think that it's a partisan position that you've taken in terms of demonstrating what the Democratic Party stands for and what the party has done. And of course, let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.
Tuesday at 8 on Fox 17.